There's a science part to it and there's an art, like most things. The science part is you look at trends, you look at what are the big movers which will probably subsist for maybe 10, 20, 30 years. And within that you see which are the trends that you think will open up large areas, large spaces. Within those trends and those large spaces, if you can think of a differentiated value proposition, that's interesting to us. One of the themes that Tata Industries has been pursuing now for almost 4 or 5 years is the whole digital, because we looked at this space almost 5 years ago now, and we said there is going to be a lot of transformation that digital, mobile, that whole piece is going to bring. In fact, going forward, there's going to be a lot of interesting space around identity also. And therefore, we looked at what we wanted to do in the digital space, and two things that stood out for us very strongly. One was e-commerce. We thought digital will transform retail as we know it, and therefore Tata Click, the e-commerce venture. We also thought that digital will also transform healthcare. And the third area we thought where it will be a major impact is the whole analytics and customer piece. So these are the three themes currently. There will be more going forward.
So I think one of the big things that comes to my mind is that, I think a lot of companies, e-commerce companies that have done work before us have actually laid the ground for what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
The second is that I think a lot of customer, responses that we've received, and, the kind of support that we've got, the first day's orders, today's orders, and the way customers are looking up to us. And so that gives us a great deal of joy and satisfaction that, maybe we're building something for the future, in a sense. So that's it. But more than that, I'm at the moment too dazed. I want to catch a bit of sleep sometime in the next couple of months, maybe.
Because we are a very federal structure, each Tata company, charts its own future with its board and then navigates that future. Keep in mind that the Tata Group has both big and small.
Yeah.
And while people tend to view the Tata Group as a monolith, it's far more federal than it is monolithic. And within that monolith, you have everything from sailboats to super tankers or aircraft carriers, if you want that analogy. I think the Tata Group over the decades has evolved to be able to accommodate both. And hopefully the Tata Industries parentage, where we are used to pushing out young businesses with young teams and teams which are given a fairly high degree of responsibility and authority to chart their course. I think it can work.
Okay.
And also I think the fact that people say that large business houses and VC funded startups, there's a lot of difference. Actually, even VC funded startups have to answer to a lot of people. You've seen some of the stories of the last 2 years. Depending on who your funders or backers are, it can be fairly difficult answering them as well.
Yes.
So it's not an easy trade-off to make.
From my personal experience, what we are doing right now as a company, we are only focused on trying to perfect the customer experience. Because the platform is new, there will be always a little bit of ups and downs, and customers, will give us feedback because they're naturally inclined towards a brand. And the effort that I need to do at the moment for the next, say, few months is only to perfect that. So if we are able as a team to deliver the good stuff to customers have a nice experience online, a simple experience online, and the deliveries are faster, we have managed to do what we have set out to do.
Yeah.
If I was on the other side and I was always constantly being kind of had that pressure of trying to multiply the GMV several X at the same time, burn cash in a certain way, I think the priorities would have kind of gotten complicated. And to my mind, that is the big advantage of a parentage like that. So I think one has to have a sense of perspective even when the customer is happy or a customer is dissatisfied, because what every customer is giving you is a feedback, right? And that feedback has to be validated with what what we have. We have to be honest to ourselves. People are holding a mirror to ourselves.
Yes.
And therefore, you are then encouraged to take decisions which are much more customer centric. So I think that's a very good thing as far as we are concerned. So I would take it that it's been at least it's very early days for us, but I think because this kind of brand name has come into this business, this will get this kind of customer feedback. So I think it's expected.
But if I can add an overlay to that, the challenge that Ashutosh and his team will have to meet up to is the moment you attach a Tata brand to a product or service, expectations go up.
Yes.
And I think we've discussed that amongst ourselves that expectations will be higher. We will have to deliver to that higher level of expectations. There are some aspects which are easier to do in terms of authenticity of the products we ship out, in terms of the fact that we are dealing only with the brands directly. So I think that will be more assured.
Yeah.
But in terms of the quality of service, the experience on the platform, the experience of the phygital side of the platform, which is shop online and pick up at the store, or reserve so that it gets delivered to you from the store. All that phygital experience, making sure that there's delight at that phygital experience is something that we'll have to perfect.
I think the first year is all about perfecting customer experience. GMV actually is an output metric. One would rather measure the input metric, which is to say how many brands do I have, what is the kind of offer we're making to customer, how many people are we reaching out, what's our TAT in terms of deliveries, what customer feedback we have taken and implemented quickly.
Yeah.
Those kind of metrics, if you do, I think chances are that you'll get to a scale which is not minuscule in a sense. But if we get obsessed about that, and I think honestly, I think the narrative of GMV itself is under question as we speak in e-commerce circles.
Yeah.
So I think it's, but when we started out about 18 months back, that was, people used to say, how can you build a business where you have no, GMV kind of ambition in the beginning. So I think the most important thing is to build customer trust and customer experience, and frankly, because we are new to this sector, to gain experience of it. We'll make our mistakes and come back. But the thing is, once we do that, then we are, then the scale up or whatever you call it is a matter of not of choice, but it will happen by itself.
I've learned one thing in business and in life: luck counts for a lot. We did say that we will not do a Me Too. We looked at the players in e-commerce and we said we don't want to do what is being done.
Yeah.
We want to be different. And a large part of that comes across in two value propositions that we thought we must focus on. Brand centric, that we will be partners of brands. We will not try and disintermediate. We will be partners of brands. And the second is phygital, which is called omni-channel, but the reason why we use phygital, which is physical and digital, is because many people are talking about omni-channel at the lowest level of its functionality.
Yes.
Over time, we want to connect physical stores of all our brands, and that means all 400, 800, whatever number we go up to our platform, and have as seamless an interaction as we can get out of that. So that was one piece. The second piece was, we were fairly clear that we did not want to go out there and, without worrying about the customer experience and customer delight, literally do this GMV chase.
Yeah.
We knew we were not in the GMV chase, not in the short term. I think in the long term, we all want to get a large share of the market, but in the short term, we were not in this GMV chase. And that's the part that Ashutosh talks about, that customer experience, getting the customer experience and the unit economics right is the first thing. And remember, the whole phygital also allows us to change the unit economics a lot.
Yeah.
If I'm having a lot of ship from store, or if I'm having a lot of what we call click and pick, which means you select it on our platform and then go and pick it up in the store. If you have a lot of that, it completely changes both your delivery and perhaps your return logistics.
Yes.
Return to store will change your return log. So there were lots of things that we thought of that would be A, differentiators, and B, where we will deliver on customer experience. Long term, we all want large revenues. The platform we built is so complex. My favorite analogy is, men when they buy a Jaguar, they like to affectionately call it a beast because of the power of the engine, the horsepower under the hood. Our platform is a beast. It's a bespoke platform, unique, probably one of a kind, because it is both omni-channel and marketplace. There are people who've done omni-channel. There are people who've done marketplace. A platform that can do both omni-channel and marketplace is really rare and requires a lot of complex functionality. We figured after applying our mind that, repurposing a platform probably would not work. And then, of course, there are times in a business cycle when you should buy, and there are times when you should build. I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were clearly at a time when you should build rather than buy. In fact, Tata Industries has funded or participated in ventures with entrepreneurs. Some of them I can talk about, some of them I can't talk about, because they're below the radar. Okay. The one thing that has perhaps changed in the last few years, we are happy to bring about that change, is traditionally Tata Industries used to by and large either do ground up or joint ventures. In the last 5-10 years, we've gradually started adding to that, where we do selective investments in companies which may be led by other people, as long as we can see a way for it to be perhaps a Tata business one day. I think that visibility, Tata Industries is not in the PEVC space in the conventional sense. So my board is not going to give me any kudos for making 10 into 20 in 2 years or 5 years. Our job is entirely what are the new Tata businesses that can be formed. And even if you have a success rate of 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5, I think it's fantastic.
There is no question in my mind that both will coexist, because I think increasingly the shopping journeys of people is both digital and physical. I mean, it's never one uni-channel kind of stuff. In India, the further complexity is that there aren't big shopping malls or organized retail. A lot of that retail is small scale, local, etc. So therefore, there is an impact that e-commerce will definitely bring. And therefore, I think it will eminently coexist. I think our model is built on the premise that they will coexist. That if they coexist, then a physical and online can be made seamless. And that is the model that we are working.
I think it's fantastic. I think the opportunities in India are enormous. But since you're a startup yourself, let me say this, that when I look at Silicon Valley, Israel, other ecosystems that incubate a lot of startups, I find there's, in this wave one, let's call this wave one of the startups in India, and I'm so certain there'll be wave 2 and wave 3. I think in wave 1, we have seen relatively few differentiated startups and many derivative startups. And I think that's something to do with the ecosystem and the funders. When you're willing to fund a wide range of startups, whether they are differentiated or derivative, you get, your crop will be of all sorts. I think wave 2, which maybe will be 3 years, 5 years from now, there'll be a lot more focus on novelty and differentiation. That is coming, and I think, for entrepreneurs who watch your channel, my suggestion would be start focusing on what's your differentiation and how non-derivative you are, how unique you are, how novel your idea is or your startup is. I think those are the ones which will succeed.
Markets like India and China, which are growing, especially in e-commerce market where, like I said, about 30-40 million people shop online, 350 million people have access to internet. That number is increasing. So, if you have anything which is slightly differentiated, there is a lot of scope. So I think, it's a very enjoyable part. for the next, at least next few years.
I love this man, admire, respect, look up to, and so do you, and I'm sure so does everyone in this country and across the world. And especially in the last 2-3 years, I'm sure everyone in the startup, if you ask any startup and entrepreneur, who do they want as a partner, as an investor, then everyone would say one name, and that is Mr. Ratan Tata. What makes a powerful leader? What makes a leader stand out? What makes someone start in the same race but just go so far ahead? Let's find out, let's learn today from none other than Shikha Sharma, MD CEO of Axis Bank.